No matter if it's Star Wars or Star Trek, if there's aliens involved, I can't help but think about how it is that they have sex. That might be a pervert. Hey guys, David here. So we got a new Star Trek movie years after the last one that a lot of people thought was kind of that came from the Star Trek reboot that J.J. Abrams brought us that a lot of people thought revitalized the franchise. So now we got Star Trek Beyond reuniting our original cast of this new timeline called the Kelvin Timeline that Abrams started. And we got Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and everybody back together again to face off against the villainous Crawl, who's going to use the secret weapon to retaliate against the Starfleet Armada. This movie had a very mixed bag of expectations. A lot of people were kind of iffy with that first trailer that used that music and was edited to look like another Fast and the Furious movie because it came from the same director after J.J. Abrams departed to do other things, a little movie called Star Wars. But it was the conflicting emotion of this trailer combined with the news that Simon Pegg was actually going to co-write the movie that had a lot of people feeling mixed about whether or not they should be looking forward to this movie or dreading it. Now, after having seen the movie, Simon Pegg co-writing for this movie as well as Justin Lin directing made up for a very awesome movie. Just like in the movies where a starship needs to plunge into the abyss in order to gain flight once back up more, the Star Trek franchise, at least this new version of it, has done the same thing. It is a great movie with the perfect balance of characterization with the whole crew that genuinely feels like a crew. Every time that they're on scene together, the chemistry is just blowing off the screen, and they have this writing to them thanks to not only Simon Pegg but also the other co-writer Doug, last name. They know how to nail these characters, not just Simon Pegg for himself as Scotty, but also all these other personas that make up the Enterprise's crew, and they really gel with one another perfectly. And just from scene to scene, they also have some characterization, some development going on where some of them have these conflicting things within their head that they talk to one another about. They feel not only like a crew, but almost like a family. So when the shit goes down, you see them trying to overcome the obstacles, and not only are you rooting for them, but they also make the movie enjoyable. It never gets too dark to where it can't be this ride going into the unknown, because the Star Trek franchise, not just the movies, but also the past movies with Captain Picard and then the original Kirk, as well as the 66 show, it was all about the exploration, venturing into the unknown, space, the final frontier. This movie really does use that as a stepping stone to become one of the overall themes for this movie, and I love that. Chris Pine really does feel like Captain Kirk in this movie. If you thought that he was a little too rebellious and angsty in that very first movie from 2009, he feels a little bit more at home with that Kirk character from the original series than he did in the past few movies, at least for me. But it's not just him. Zachary Quinto as Spock once again. Carl Urban, I think, steals an awful lot of the scenes that he's in as Bones, and plenty of the other crew members get their moment of shine. Mostly, at least, because I do admit that a couple of crew members do get the shorter end of the stick where I feel like they could have used more screen time. Like, for example, Sulu and Uhura, they did their thing, but I didn't feel like I knew them much more than I did in the past two movies. They added little things here and there, like Uhura having a little bit of trouble with Spock in terms of the relationship, and of course the recent unveiling that Sulu is gay, and another crew member that I didn't think get to do an awful lot, and I really wish he could have because of the recent circumstances, would have to be Chekhov, played by the late but great Anton Yelkin, who sadly passed away, I believe, last month. And yeah, you do get that weird feeling watching him on screen because of recent events. But his persona, as well as Uhura and Sulu's, they're still great. They still got that chemistry. They still have some wonderful writing just as much as the other characters. I just wish that they have had enough development just like the other people did. Which leads me to the two new additions to this whole ensemble cast. You got Sofia Boutella as Jalea, I believe her name was. And she was a cool character, albeit just a tiny bit generic when it comes to her backstory and how she ties in to this whole plan, but still a welcome addition. And then you got Crawl, who's our main villain played by Idris Elba, who at first did start out as a rather routine and generic villain to the point where I couldn't even understand what the hell he was saying, because I felt like even Idris Elba himself was struggling to talk through the makeup and the prosthetics. But as the movie went on, let's just say that layers get peeled away about the character, and we learn a little bit more about him. However, the pacing for the development of his character doesn't really pay off. I feel like by the end of it, I genuinely wanted to know more about him, but sadly, the movie is coming to its end, so you know that that's not coming coming. So I wish that we could have invested more into this character that had a little bit of a tragic backstory. Fortunately, the opposite can be said about the pacing for the movie itself, which I think is just terrific. You get action sequences, and then when you don't, you get great character moments, and the movie's just non-stop with those things that are essential for a good movie. You got some great visuals, great visual effects, some great direction from Justin Lin, who I didn't think was going to be able to reach the bar that J.J. Abrams said, but he did. It almost felt like he was paying homage to J.J. Abrams' direction in the first two movies, while at the same time making sure that he was making his own creative choices with the direction. And there's some stylistic choices in this movie that I thought, okay, that was a cool camera trick, that was a cool little execution there, and he really did feel like he loved this franchise. He wasn't just going to be, oh, it's Fast and Furious with cars. There's certain moments where he did get a little shaky cameo when it came to the hand-to-hand combat, and I'm like, okay, put the camera down, there's no cars here, there's a motorcycle, but these are spaceships we're talking about. Show them in grand scale. And fortunately, he does. Whenever we're into space, he's always tilting the camera to show the scope of how big space could be. And because of that, the pacing with the characters and the writing, thanks to Simon Pegg and Doug, what's his name, as well as Justin Lin taking this brand new approach, made for what is probably going to be 2 of the quickest hours you're going to spend in the movie theater, and definitely one of the most enjoyable and very well made summer blockbusters of this year. And for that, I give Star Trek Beyond a very high 8 out of 10. The only reason why it's not a 9, because I wanted to give it a 9. But I think that camera could have stood still just a little bit during some of those action sequences, and Krall could have been one of the more memorable villains of this new Kelvin Timeline, but he came just a little bit short. So please let me know in the comments below if you have seen Star Trek Beyond, and if you have, what did you think of the movie? Are you planning to go see it? And what do you expect with the 4th movie rumored to be dealing with time travel, and now that Chris Hemsworth is now known as Thor, they're gonna bring him back to the... I'm sorry for what we did to you at the beginning of that movie. Come on. Please like this video, share it with all your friends, everybody that has seen the movie, what do they think, and post in the comments below. Let's get something started. Again, like I said in my last video, thank you so much for helping me reach 4,000 subscribers. It's kind of a milestone, but let's go ahead and hit 5,000. We can do better. We can make America great again by talking about nerdy stuff. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and remember, may the Force be with you.